Mr. Kelly,
Yes, Joe.
we are still waiting on one person for a quorum. Would you
Okay.
like to start the meeting and begin the budget presentation?
Yes.
We can't take action. Okay, we can't take
Right.
action until Mr. Buffington gets here, but we can proceed with that.
Okay. Yeah, let's
All right.
let's go ahead and start.
If you'd like to call to order,
I'll call the meeting to order.
we approve the meeting agenda.
Approve any, I guess people there. Any changes to the agenda? If not, I'll take a motion to approve the agenda.
Turn your mic.
Thank you.
So moved.
I'll second it.
Okay, thank you. All right, we have two action items this morning: the proposed 2026 proposed operating budget and the write-off, our annual write-off of uncollected accounts, both by Sally. So
Ethan.
Sally, take it away.
Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
And we'll talk about the budget process, key issues, revenues, expenses, and expense drivers. So the budget process started back in August. I mean, it actually started at mid-year review. But back in August, all of the cost center owners go through line by line and submit their budgets to me. Thank you to everyone for your efforts. I don't do this in a bubble, so thank you to all the cost center owners for your diligence. Special thank you too to HR this year. Fred and Tom did a lot of back and forth with us with the personnel budget. So that was good to see this year. So Finance Committee will review the proposed budget today. Next month, November, the committees will see the 10-year capital improvement plan as well as the single year 2026 capital spending plan. And then the combined operating budget and capital spending plan will be presented to the board in December, and the board will be asked to approve the 2026 budget. Key issues in this year's budget is that the budget includes the rate increases that were voted on by the board, approved in the board as part of the 3-year rate structure. So as a reminder, we'll see a 7% increase in user rates, 4.5% increase in water availability charges, and the 8.8% increase in sewer availability charges. I have the growth on here also. So we're projecting ERCs at 2580. If you just slide that little picture up maybe a little bit, Nathan, or I don't know if there's a way to do that. So you'll see that we are going down, but that is what our data shows. We did use our BI report and pulled the permits, and we actually have 500 data centers in our data, but we did increase that some because that historically has been low. And then as a reminder, our growth in 2025 was budgeted at 2020, and we're forecasting the 5,000. So the chart does show the forecasted amount there for 2025.
Real quick, this isn't really related to finance, but since we have the increases, just recap, what communication have we done with the 7% increase and also to sort of industry with the availability charges?
Yeah, so last year we did the mailer, we did the public hearing, we have all that information on our website. Information went out through some of the board of supervisors. I'm sure you remember all of that. We meet with our industry groups through WeTran, and he updates them on what's going on. This year, we still have all that information on our website. We continues to meet roughly quarterly with the industry, and they know this is coming. And we've also sent out a mailer to have it, not a separate mailer, but with your bill. So every quarterly bill starting in August, I believe, has received a notice of, again, the rate increase. It was approved last year. Here are some of the key drivers in that. If you want more information, here's the page on the website to go. We've only received one question since then, but if we receive more, we'll certainly answer and respond and let you all know.
That's great.
Question. Well, the graphic and the words to me don't sync well. Just for me to understand, because it looks like from the picture, ERC estimate is lower, which I would pick up as the 2020. But can you just go through that statement again?
Yes, when we budgeted at 2020 ERCs, and then due to the increase, the rollover that we had in connections that were supposed to hit in 2024, that hit in 2025, as well as the data center expansions that weren't budgeted for, we have well exceeded that target. So at mid-year review, we increased our ERC target to 5,000.
Okay.
So
It's like,
it does go down, yes. So we're basing that on our construction permits that we have. And that's what the data is showing. Actually, it's showing less than that, but I did bump it up a little bit since that has historically been
so
low.
if it was correct. do August. That's not.
Hard to hear the question.
Sorry.
So in 25, we experienced more ERCs because there was a backlog coming out of 24. And maybe backlog isn't the exact right, but a tranche of them moving forward. That's not anticipated for 26.
The data
In
isn't
fact-
showing that.
Okay.
Yeah.
And I want to be able to understand, in fact, the projection is even lower and why.
So correct. So that we budgeted 2020, we had, like you're saying, a backlog come over, which then increased what we're forecasting our actuals to be in 2025 to 5,000. Based on what we have in our pipeline, we think the growth next year is going to be 2,580. I will say there's always a chance that some of these data centers or connections that we think will occur in December could roll over to January based on their timing of payment. So there's always a chance that some of these connections that we think will get us to 5,000 this year will roll over to
Yeah.
next year.
One more related question, if you don't mind, Brian. Would you say this is then 26 is the year that we're beginning to see the lower ERC numbers from the 24 spike?
Mhm.
So do you have a 27 projection somewhere?
I think roughly, not as confident as the one for next year,
Okay.
but roughly, and I would say no, none of them look like 5,000 anymore. I think one of the things we're tracking and is unknown is, especially in the JLMA, what data centers will be air cooled versus water cooled, and that will have a big impact on ERCs in the coming years. So we're tracking that. We have ranges of what that will look like, but we don't know exactly what it will look like until we get a little closer with plans.
Understood. Thank you.
I wanted to make mention of one additional factor for 2025. Just as a reminder, we did receive the connection from Potomac Energy from the power plant that also contributed to that higher ERC volume for 2025.
Mr. Kelly has a question.
Yeah, thanks, Jewel. Ryan, just a couple of things. Just make sure I understand. So we have cleared for next year, we will have cleared the backlog, starting with no backlog for next year. Is that right?
Well, I'm not sure if backlog is we anticipate the timing of when connections will occur, but a lot of that's dependent on when developers pay their fees. And so based on our timing, we might think they'll pay their fees in December, but because of funding or just plans lag, it might actually be January. And so that's kind of that carryover where we think something's going to happen in December, and we plan for that. And that's not included in our budget for next year, but then it doesn't happen in December, and then it'll happen in January.
Sure. But we've cleared 2024's backlog.
Essentially, yes.
Essentially, yeah. So in the past few years, if I recall correctly, our ERC has exceeded our budget. Is that because of what you just said, that we just don't know the timing? It's a timing thing?
That's part of it. Part of it was also, as Alton mentioned, we received several hundred unanticipated connections from the Potomac Energy. They came in, that was unplanned. And then we also saw data centers that came back. They had paid years ago came back and asked for more increased capacity, and that doesn't go through our normal plan process. And so those weren't being tracked at the time of budget creation last year.
Okay. Do we still have, I don't know what the term is, do we still have the issue with users truing up their usage? Remember
So,
the
yeah,
veterinary clinic, the whole veterinary clinic issue and so forth?
Yes, I think, yes, you're recalling the underpaid availability program
Right.
that we went
Right.
through several years ago. We don't have that program ongoing right now. There really isn't a customer that I would say is really under using, or sorry, that is using more availability than they paid for. We monitor that and we'll have discussions, but that was a specific program that was stood up because we saw a lot of customers that we had to go back and collect money from. But that has wrapped up. Yeah.
Okay, good. I just want to make sure. Okay, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
And I want to add that you guys have done a great, ERCs are so difficult to predict, and it's better to predict lower and have them come in higher than predict higher and have them come in lower. And I think you guys have done a great job with that. It's really, really difficult from my perspective to try to pin these things down.
It's really nice to have the BI report that we do have. It does at least give me some data to work with, but it is, like Brian said, just the timing that we're manually putting in there.
There's so many factors involved in those things. So I think you guys are doing a great job with that. And I would just continue to encourage, which we're already doing, but let's over communicate these increases, since that was a source of contention previously. We did everything legally correct last time, but I think it's good to over communicate and tell them again. So thank you for doing that. The
Okay.
timeout because we asked you too many questions.
Me?
I
Okay, moving
agree
on
with
to
you, Brenda.
revenues.
It's an art to predict these ERCs, and it is a moving target, sure. It's a well done, educated guess, basically, but
Yeah.
staff does a great job of predicting it. It's a nice problem to have when they exceed our estimate.
Okay, moving on to revenues. 2026 revenues in total are budgeted at $209.1 million. That's an increase of $28.4 million from the adopted budget and a decrease of $49 million or 19% from actual. And I'll break down the two pieces of that. So operating revenue is $143 million or 68% of the total. So that's going to include our rate charges for services and fees. It anticipates an increase in the customer base and the rate increase that we just talked about, and the increase of $10.7 million or 8% over the adopted budget. And the chart to your right there does show that 66% of our projected revenues, the yellow and the light blue box there, do come from our continuing services. And then the non-operating piece, which includes our availability charges and investment income, is $65.3 million. And that's an increase of $17.7 million from our adopted budget. And that's due to our increase in availability fees. So if you look at the first line in the detail there, we budgeted $42 million last year, and we're bumping that up to $55 million this year. And then investment income was in the budget at $5 million. Based on projected actual, we thought that was a bit low. So we did bump that up also to $10 million for investment income. Any more questions on revenues?
The 10 million, are we expecting rates to go up or down, or what's sort of driving the increase there?
So we do pull, based on our current investments, I can pull what we're going to get next year. So that's my baseline, what we're already invested in. So those are fixed rates. And then just a little bit of, yes. They are saying, the industry is saying rates should go down, is what they're saying, but haven't seen it yet in what I'm investing in. which you'll see later in the investment overview. Okay, expenses for 2026 are budgeted at 190 million. That's an increase of 7% or 12.5 million over our current budget. The increases in costs are for personnel, wholesale water and wastewater purchases, system maintenance costs, as well as professional services and amortization. And I do break it down by each of those pieces in 2 slides forward. Our operating expenses is 53% of that, and that's forecasted at 100 million. That excludes depreciation. That's going to be composed of our personnel costs, our contractual services, materials, supplies, services, and charges. And that's an increase of 6.6 million from our adopted budget. Depreciation is 80 million next year, and that's an increase of 5.7 million. I will point out that our S/4HANA expenses have started to amortize, and that's only over 3 years. So that's a big part of the increase that we're seeing in 2026. Our non-operating expenses include principal and interest and is budgeted at 9.4 million.
So real quick, we get to depreciate the software over 3 years? Okay, that's nice.
Mhm.
That was a big number, whatever that was.
It was a big number.
Yeah.
11.4 million.
Okay. Great.
Okay, so our 2026 expenses, here's how it breaks down. So you have the pie chart off to the right that shows depreciation is the biggest piece, then personnel, then contractual services. And then I'm showing you the increases in our adopted budget. So we have the 5.7 million increase in depreciation. We have 3.2 million in personnel, and that's going to be, our open positions, our new positions that we're forecasting, as well as merit increases and benefits. Contractual services, there's our water and wastewater wholesale purchases, 2.4 million increase. Materials and supplies at 1 million increase. And then principal and interest are 0.2 million increase. What questions can I answer on expenses? Okay.
Other meetings about other topics, perhaps the need to look at some staff enhancements or staff resource additions. The topic out there in the community, in the development community about processing affordable housing projects through the review process, including Loudwater's review process, is an issue. And I think our observation in other conversations have been, what happens to those other projects for review timelines and that type of thing. So it sort of kicks up the question of, do we have enough resources just in that one area? So back to your personnel increase, that is budgeted new positions and the benefits increase. And so is it possible to find out what the budgeted new positions are?
Yes,
When we get there?
No, we have it. So when I pulled this, it's gone down. We had 14 vacant positions. So those, you can go out on our website and see what those are. I think it's down to 10 now within the month. Then we have 16 new positions requested in the budget. So, and it goes across all areas, operations.
But to your specific question, one of those positions, so we had 2 vacant land development positions. I believe one's been filled and is being onboarded. We have another one still out there that we're looking for. There's another position that's in our planning and water resources department that we're planning on kind of splitting half-time to help with that. And then as part of the new FTEs that Sally referenced, there is another engineer for land development to help with the plans as you're referencing. So we are looking to increase our staff in that area.
My question was specific.
Mhm.
I was asking about that area, but I was using it as an example.
Yeah.
There are other areas where you, as the general manager, might feel you need more
Yeah.
resources. Are you going to fold that into our budget discussion, or is that I don't recall that we did that in prior years.
Yeah, yeah. Typically not. Typically, the way the budget has worked here is we ask for the personnel budget, and then the FTEs and what that is made up of is run through the general manager. We're happy to talk about that right now if you would like more detail on.
I think, 2 years into this role, obviously, experience has been that let's defer to you, staff, as the staff responsibility. I think it's handled very, very well. We get updates and you're following along. I would just say that if you really felt like there were resources needed to do a particular job and a particular, and you should feel encouraged to share that with us, because I can tell you from my perspective as a board member, I'd be really supportive of that. And I think that's true for my colleagues as well.
Okay.
So, so anyway, I don't think I'm saying, hey, let's get into each position, whether you really did or not. But know that at least the observation of one finance committee member is you should budget for what you think you need, not really having visibility into that directly, and that's fine too. But do you have the resources you need to respond to all the changing conditions?
I think we do. I think, you know, again, we're looking to hire 16 new people. And I think we went through it in, as Sally mentioned, in pretty good detail. And those are focused in operations and O&M and inspections in our areas that I think we really need to staff up. So I think so.
And a lot of the communication between HR and myself and the managers, they have to justify these new position requests. So they actually fill out in words why they need them. So HR has all that backup if you ever want to see it.
But
So
I do
it's not just
appreciate-
asking for it. And
Yeah, I appreciate that. Yes, that is very good to know. Yes, thank you.
Yep. Brian, if I can add too, I
Yeah.
think one of the things that we do is the course of the year, not all the positions are expected to start at the same time. Some are early on, some may be later. We're continually taking the temperature on those as well. So if we see mid-year that all of a sudden some departments really getting overwhelmed with something, we'll go back to those open positions and say, hey, do we really need to fill this in 2026? Or can we switch that out with a different position, similar money or less or what have you? So that's a continual conversation we'll have with the GMO as well as with the directors as well to confirm that we still need these positions, and when we need them, if something comes on that we really feel like we really need to stress and look at an area to fill at that point.
Thank you.
Brian, just another follow-up to that, and thank you, Charles, for that comment. But Ryan or Sally, I mean, do you put in, I mean, not knowing what's going to happen next year as far as retirements or resignations and so forth, do you kind of put in sort of a fudge factor to address that? I know it's I know it's looking at the crystal ball when you're doing that, but I mean, just so that you're not looking just to fill open positions, but is there some sort of extra that addresses resignations and retirements?
well, we do it from the ground up. So I have all 373 employees on a spreadsheet. So if one of those resigned or retired, we have that salary in that budget amount.
Okay.
Did that answer your question?
Yeah, I think that's, yes.
In that onto that, Mr. Kelly, I think the other piece is that even with the openings that we have, it seems like we don't fully have every position filled. So there always are some vacancy savings, if you will, out there. So I think with the way that the budget goes, I think we're in pretty good shape with whether that be retirements, resignations, what have you. There are typically some open positions that aren't filled that we have that money to use.
That's good, because, somebody may leave and you have that in the budget, of course, but then in order to attract a person to fill that, you might have to add a little bit more. So that's good to know. There's a little extra that you could dip into if need be. Thank you.
I don't believe we can do the motion.
Actually, Chair Kelly can make the recommendation to place this item on action or consent for the full board. Chair Kelly?
It's going to go in December, so it's going to be voted on in December with the capital improvement plan, as I understand it. So we'll put it on for action, Sally. So I'll make the recommendation. I move the recommendation to the board to approve the 2026 operating budget as presented and forward the budget to the board for approval in December. Have a second?
We do not. So it'll just be the chairman's recommendation.
Okay.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Have we heard from Mr. Buffington? Is he lost in traffic or?
But that, what was done was recommended by John Wilburn. So that was legal's advice on how to
Okay.
approach this.
Not to make it more complicated than it already is, but don't we have a joint CIP finance committee meeting?
You do.
So
in
was that
November.
merging budget and CIP, or is it just CIP?
That's the-
Typic,
Oh,
Yeah,
sorry.
that's what I was referring to, Charles, that we have to be an action item in December along with a CIP.
Okay,
budget. So I just want to make sure that the board knows in December that the finance committee has reviewed this and is comfortable with moving forward with it. So it
okay.
doesn't go into that December meeting with well, did you guys approve it? I guess we don't have a quorum, so we can't approve the move to the board.
correct.
Understood.
Okay.
And Mr. Buffington texted me that he had an unexpected scheduling conflict and will not be able to attend.
Okay.
His apologies.
So, in the past, we can also just put items on your board, agenda. So this would kind of just be put on your board agenda without a formal, I guess.
I think we should do that
Endorsement
because
from
we
the-
can't make a formal endorsement
Yeah.
without a
No.
quorum.
Mhm.
Right.
So,
Unless we,
okay, good.
Unless we, yeah, we can't, that's right, Brent, we can't, we just put it on like Brian said. Okay. All right,
And
Sally,
then-
thank you.
Okay,
Thanks,
and then
Ellen.
as a final item, there is a budget document in your board packet also that's more words if you're want to read through that and it explains it a little bit in charts and words.
That was helpful as I went through the different line items to see what the items that made up those items on your presentation. So that was helpful.
Okay,
we're
so now
to,
we're going to, move on. Oh, go ahead, Mr. Kelly, sorry.
sorry, just move on to uncollected accounts write-off.
Yep, so we are coming to you now for our annual request for write-offs, over $100. So currently there are 56 accounts that have outstanding balances greater than 100 for which standard collection efforts have been exhausted. Those include reminder notices, telephone calls, searching the county's database to see if the owners have property within our service area to file a lien. A listing of these counts is attached. I can scroll down, and the total of the amount is $19,093.43. This represents 0.02 of the approximate percent of approximately 126 million in total operating revenues. A lot less than in prior years. And thank you to Denise Guntel. She's our billing manager. She's been at Loud and Water 14-ish years, and she's the one who goes through each of these accounts. Also to Business Solutions this year, who helped her because it's a new system. So kind of a new process to pull these. But yeah, not too many this year. I think our bigger write-offs the past 2 years, we got rid of all the outstanding large development accounts that we had to write off. And then the team has put in together really good shut-off procedures for, say, septic haulers. So we don't have any of those on the list this year. And then Paola, our collections agent, is fully up and running. And we have seen, especially with the tax refund this year, larger increase in not disconnected, but inactive account collections than we've seen in prior years. So I think all those contributed to the lower amount.
Great. Well, unfortunately, I don't think we can take action on it without a quorum.
No, so typically this
Yeah.
would, this item would go to your November board meeting. And so what we can do is we can just bring this to your November board meeting as an action item, and present it to the full board
Yep.
for approval.
Yeah, thanks, Brian.
Okay, we're moving on to the September financial summary. So highlights from this are that operating revenues totaled 108 million, and it's above the forecast of 97.3 million. And as we discussed, that's due to the revenue equalization fee that we received this year. At least 5 million of that is. Non-operating revenue, these blue lines here, are exceeding our budget due to the increase in ERCs over budget that we've seen. And then expenses are 7 million below the year-to-date forecast of 130 million. That's coming in at $124 million. Here's our ERC trends. We were at 41, what does that say? 41.46? Even, okay, 41.46. And I looked yesterday, we were at 42.21. So we'll see. We have October, one more quarter to go to see if we get to the 5,000 for the year. You can see most of those down here are data center connections for 2025. And then the percentage breakout, data centers are in the blue here, and the total amount is 77 million. You add all four of these numbers together. So 56% are data centers. And then a little peek at our capital spending. We're at 93 million spent, which is 91% of the forecast. And then if we break that out between user fees and availability charges, user rates funded 1.2 million of the monthly spend, and then availability fees funded 5 million of the monthly spend here. Those are the breakout in the colors there. And there's our year-to-date trend. Any questions on September? Okay. The final presentation is our investment review for the quarter ended September 30th, 2025. Our total portfolio cash and investments is 435 million. You can see there we have those type of investments, 172 million in treasury notes, followed by our liquidity, agencies, corporate bonds, and municipal bonds. Here are our trends. So our total portfolio stayed about the same. Our average yield increased a little bit, and point out LGIP, which holds a good sum of our liquidity, is at 4.45%.
So the main driver to the, because what's our interest, our projected interest for this year? It was like 4 million, 5 million, something like that.
I'm sorry, for 2025.
Yeah,
the
for
end,
2025.
It's like 15 or 16 million.
Oh, it's that high. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
We budgeted about 5.5
Okay.
for last year, but it's going to come in around 15 or 16
Because we
million.
got all this.
Yeah,
extra
because
ERC.
extra ERCs, extra cash to invest, rates didn't decrease as much as we were thinking based
Yeah.
on the commentary. Yeah.
And you'll see on this next slide, the ones that rolled off here. So I had 38 million in agencies with the average yield of 1.68 that rolled off our schedule. And I was able to reinvest those with an average yield of 3.8 on that second line there, the agencies.
Yeah, great.
So yeah, we had 38 million mature and I invested 57 million. Those corporate bonds were actually, if you remember last quarters, those matured at the end of the quarter and I didn't have time to invest them. So got those invested. So yeah, we'll closely monitor interest rate trends to determine if we want to invest in any more. We do have some large cash payouts coming up for some oversizing reimbursements. So I am holding that cash. And I think we only have one maturity in December. So it should be a pretty low quarter for investments.
So we got 435 right now. What's our rough projection for ending 2026? Are we, because we're going to spend down some of our cash, I assume, over this coming year.
Yeah.
You mentioned the reimbursements. I'm sure there's other things too, but.
We're working through the CIP budget right now, which will have a big impact on that. But I think we took a preliminary, I think I threw some numbers in there, and I'm gonna say it came out at 350 or so. So
It'll under 100 spent in 2026.
Yeah.
And it'll depend on the timing. We've kind of had this 15 million we've been saying we'd pay out once the developer reaches final, whatever it's called,
Mhm.
final approval. And that just hasn't happened. It just keeps getting pushed. So if that gets
But
pushed to
that's-
next year.
That just gives me
But yeah,
a.
the next couple years, that cash balance is really projected to come down
Yeah.
with the JLMA and Broad Run going on and Milestone well underway.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Okay, good.
And I think that's it.
Great. Well, thank you. Sorry, we couldn't formally approve things.
Yeah. Well, I guess I can't take a motion to adjourn, so thanks, everybody.
This meeting didn't really happen.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Sally.
Mr. Kelly.
Thank you. Yeah, have a good day.
Thanks, Sean.
Hey, thanks, Brent. Take care.